A tile is a manufactured piece of hard-wearing materials such as ceramic, stone, metal, or even glass, generally used for covering roofs, floors, walls, showers, or other objects such as tabletops. Alternatively, tile can sometimes refer to similar units made from lightweight materials such as perlite wood and mineral wool, typically used for wall and ceiling applications. In another sense, a tile is a construction tile, a similar object, such as rectangular counters used in playing games. The word is derived from the French word tuile, which is, in turn, from the Latin word tegula, meaning a roof tile composed of fired clay. Tiles are often used to form wall and floor coverings, and can range from simple square tiles to complex mosaics. Tiles are most often made of ceramic, typically glazed for internal uses and unglazed for roofing, but other materials are also commonly used, such as glass, cork, concrete and other composite materials, and stone. Tiling stone is typically marble, onyx, granite or slate. Thinner tiles can be used on walls than on floors, which require more durable surfaces that will resist impacts. Decorative tile work in colored brick. Decorative tile work or tile art should be distinguished from mosaic, where forms are made of great numbers of tiny irregularly positioned tesserae, each of a single color, usually of glass or sometimes ceramic or stone. History. The earliest evidence of glazed brick is the discovery of glazed bricks in the Elamite temple at Cho-Asanbul, dated to the 13th century BC. Glazed and colored bricks were used to make low reliefs in ancient Mesopotamia, most famously the Ishtar Gate of Babylon, now partly reconstructed in Berlin, with sections elsewhere. Mesopotamian craftsmen were imported for the palaces of the Persian Empire such as Persepolis. Tiling was used in the 2nd century by the Sinhalese kings of ancient Sri Lanka, using smoothed and polished stone laid on floors and in swimming pools. Historians consider the techniques and tools for tiling as well advanced, evidenced by the fine workmanship and close fit of the tiles. Tiling from this period can be seen Ruan Welisar and Kutumpo Kuna in the city of Anuradhapura. The Achaemenid Empire decorated buildings with glazed brick tiles, including Darius the Great's palace at Shush and buildings at Persepolis. The succeeding Sassanid Empire used tiles patterned with geometric designs, flowers, plants, birds and human beings, glazed up to a centimeter thick. Early Islamic mosaics in Iran consist mainly of geometric decorations in mosques and mausoleums, made of glazed brick. Typical turquoise tiling becomes popular in 10th–11th century and is used mostly for Kufic inscriptions on mosque walls. Sayyid Mosque in Isfahan, Dome of Marikeh and the Jame Mosque of Ghanabad are among the finest examples. The Dome of Jame Atiq Mosque of Qazvin is also dated to this period. The Golden Age of Persian tilework began during the reign of the Timurid Empire. In the Marak technique, single-color tiles were cut into small geometric pieces and assembled by pouring liquid plaster between them. After hardening, these panels were assembled on the walls of buildings. But the mosaic was not limited to flat areas. Tiles were used to cover both the interior and exterior surfaces of domes. Prominent Timurid examples of this technique include the Jame Mosque of Yazd, Gohashid Mosque, the Madrasa of Khan in Shiraz, and the Milana Mosque. Other important tile techniques of this time include giri tiles, with the characteristic white giri, or straps. Mihrabs, being the focal points of mosques, were usually the places where most sophisticated tile work was placed. The 14th century mihrab at Madrasa Imami in Isfahan is an outstanding example of aesthetic union between the Islamic calligrapher's art and abstract Ornament. The pointed arched framing the mihrab's niche bears an inscription in Kufic script used in 9th century Quran. One of the best-known architectural masterpieces of Iran is the Shah Mosque in Isfahan, from the 17th century. Its dome is a prime example of tile mosaic, and its winter praying hall houses one of the finest ensembles of Querdo-Sika tiles in the world. A wide variety of tiles had to be manufactured in order to cover complex forms of the hall with consistent mosaic patterns. The result was a technological triumph as well as a dazzling display of abstract ornament. During the Safavid period, mosaic ornaments were often replaced by a haft-rang technique. Pictures were painted on plain rectangle tiles, glazed and fired afterwards. Besides economic reasons, the 7 colors method gave more freedom to artists and was less time-consuming. It was popular until the Qajar period, when the palette of colors was extended by yellow and orange. The 7 colors of haft-rang tiles were usually black, white, ultramarine, turquoise, red, yellow and fawn. The Persianate tradition continued and spread to much of the Islamic world, notably the Iznik pottery of Turkey under the Ottoman Empire in the 16th and 17th centuries. Palaces, public buildings, mosques and Turbi mausoleums were heavily decorated with large brightly colored patterns, typically with floral motifs, and friezes of astonishing complexity, including floral motifs and calligraphy as well as geometric patterns. Islamic buildings in Bukhara in Central Asia also exhibit very sophisticated floral ornaments. In South Asia, monuments and shrines adorned with Kashi tile work from Persia became a distinct feature of the shrines of Multan and Sindh. The Wazir Khan Mosque in Lahore stands out as one of the masterpieces of Kashi time work from the Mughal period. The Zelaj tradition of Arabic North Africa uses small colored tiles of various shapes to make very complex geometric patterns. It is halfway to mosaic, but as the different shapes must be fitted precisely together, it falls under tiling. The use of small colored glass fields also make it rather like enameling, but with ceramic rather than metal as the support. Azulejos are derived from Zelaj, and the name is likewise derived. The term is both a simple Portuguese and Spanish term for Zelaj, and a term for later tile work following the tradition. Some azulejos are small-scale geometric patterns and/or vegetative motifs. Some are blue monochrome and highly pictorial, and some are neither. The Baroque period produced extremely large painted scenes on tiles, usually in blue and white, for walls. Azulejos were also used in Latin American architecture. Medieval influences between Middle Eastern tilework and tilework in Europe were mainly through Islamic Iberia and the Byzantine and Ottoman empires. The Alhambra Zelaj are said to have inspired the tessellations of MC Escher. Medieval encaustic tiles were made of multiple colors of clay, shaped and baked together to form a pattern that, rather than sitting on the surface, ran right through the thickness of the tile, and thus would not wear away. Medieval Europe made considerable use of painted tiles, sometimes producing very elaborate schemes, of which few have survived. Religious and secular stories were depicted. The imaginary tiles with Old Testament scenes shown on the floor in Jan van Eyck's 1434 Annunciation in Washington are an example. The 14th century Tring tiles in the British Museum show childhood scenes from the life of Christ, possibly for a wall rather than a floor, while the 13th century Chertsey tiles, though from an abbey, show scenes of Richard the Lionheart battling with Saladin in very high-quality work. Medieval lettered tiles were used to create Christian inscriptions on church floors. Delftware wall tiles, typically with a painted design covering only one blue and white tile, were ubiquitous in Holland and widely exported over northern Europe from the 16th century on, replacing many local industries. Several 18th-century royal palaces had porcelain rooms with the walls entirely covered in porcelain in tiles or panels. Surviving examples include ones at Capodimonte at Naples, the Royal Palace of Madrid and the nearby Royal Palace of Aranjuez. There are several other types of traditional tiles that remain in manufacture, for example the small, almost mosaic, brightly colored zillage tiles of Morocco and the surrounding countries, with exceptions, notably the porcelain Tower of Nanjing. Decorated tiles or glazed bricks do not feature largely in East Asian ceramics. The Victorian period saw a great revival in tilework, largely as part of the Gothic revival, but also the arts and crafts movement. Pattern tiles, or tiles making up patterns, were now mass-produced by machine and reliably level for floors and cheap to produce, especially for churches, schools and public buildings, but also for domestic hallways and bathrooms. For many uses the tougher encaustic tile was used. Wall tiles in various styles also revived, the rise of the bathroom contributing greatly to this, as well as greater appreciation of the benefit of hygiene in kitchens. William de Morgan was the leading English designer working in tiles, strongly influenced by Islamic designs. Since the Victorian period, tiles have remained standard for kitchens and bathrooms, and many types of public area. Portugal and São Luís continue the tradition of azulejo tilework today, with azulejos used to decorate buildings, ships, and even rocks. Azulejos notable among American tile makers of the 1920s and 1930s were Ernest A. Batchelder and Pubic pottery. Roof tiles. Roof tiles are designed mainly to keep out rain, and are traditionally made from a locally available materials such as terracotta or slate. Modern materials such as concrete and plastic are also used, and some clay tiles have a waterproof glaze. A large number of shapes of roof tiles have evolved. Floor tiles. These are commonly made of ceramic or stone, although recent technological advances have resulted in rubber glass tiles for floors as well. Ceramic tiles may be painted and glazed. Small mosaic tiles may be laid in various patterns. Floor tiles are typically set into mortar consisting of sand, cement and often a latex additive for extra adhesion. The spaces between the tiles are nowadays filled with sanded or unsanded floor grout, but traditionally mortar was used. Natural stone tiles can be beautiful, but as a natural product they are less uniform in color and pattern, and require more planning for use and installation. Mass-produced stone tiles are uniform in width and length. Granite or marble tiles are sawn on both sides and then polished or finished on the top surface so that they have a uniform thickness. Other natural stone tiles such as slate are typically riven on the top surface so that the thickness of the tile varies slightly from one spot on the tile to another and from one tile to another. Variations in tile thickness can be handled by adjusting the amount of mortar under each part of the tile, by using wide grout lines that ramp between different thicknesses, or by using a cold chisel to knock off high spots. Some stone tiles such as polished granite, marble, and travertine are very slippery when wet. Stone tiles with a riven surface such as slate or with a sawn and then sandblasted or honed surface will be more slip-resistant. Ceramic tiles for use in wet areas can be made more slip-resistant either by using very small tiles so that the grout lines act as grooves or by imprinting a contour pattern onto the face of the tile. The hardness of natural stone tiles varies such that some of the softer stone tiles are not suitable for very heavy traffic floor areas. On the other hand, ceramic tiles typically have a glazed upper surface, and when that becomes scratched or pitted, the floor looks worn, whereas the same amount of wear on natural stone tiles will not show or will be less noticeable. Natural stone tiles can be stained by spilled liquids. They must be sealed and periodically resealed with sealant, in contrast to ceramic tiles, which only need the groundline seal. However, because of the complex, non-repeating patterns in natural stone, small amounts of dirt on many natural stone floor tiles do not show. The tendency of floor tiles to stain depends not only on a sealant being applied and periodically reapplied, but also on the porosity or how porous the stone is. Slate is an example of a less porous stone, while limestone is an example of a more porous stone. Different granites and marbles have different porosities, with the less porous ones being more valued and more expensive. Most vendors of stone tiles emphasize that there will be variation in color and pattern from one batch of tiles to another of the same description, and variation within the same batch. Stone floor tiles tend to be heavier than ceramic tiles and somewhat more prone to breakage during shipment. Rubber floor tiles have a variety of uses both in residential and commercial settings. They are especially useful in situations where it is desired to have high traction floors or protection for an easily breakable floor. Some common uses include flooring of garage, workshops, patios, swimming pool decks, sport courts, gyms, and dance floors. Plastic floor tiles, including interlocking floor tiles that can be installed without adhesive glue, are a recent innovation and are suitable for areas subject to heavy traffic, wet areas, and floors that are subject to movement, damp, or contamination from oil, grease, or other substances that may prevent adhesion to the substrate. Common uses include old factory floors, garages, gyms and sports complexes, schools and shops. Ceiling tiles. Ceiling tiles are lightweight tiles used inside buildings. They are placed in an aluminium grid. They provide little thermal insulation but are generally designed to improve the acoustics of a room. Mineral fiber tiles are fabricated from a range of products. Wet felt tiles can be manufactured from perlite, mineral wool, and fibers from recycled paper. Stone wool tiles are created by combining molten stone and binders, which is then spun to create the tile. Gypsum tiles are based on the soft mineral and then finished with vinyl, paper, or decorative face. Ceiling tiles very often have patterns on the front face. These are there in most circumstances to aid with a tile's ability to improve acoustics. Ceiling tiles also provide a barrier to the spread of smoke and fire. Breaking, displacing, or removing ceiling tiles enables hot gases and smoke from a fire to rise and accumulate above detectors and sprinklers. Doing so delays their activation, enabling fires to grow more rapidly. Ceiling tiles, especially in old Mediterranean houses, were made of terracotta and were placed on top of the wooden ceiling beams, and upon those were placed the roof tiles. They were then plastered or painted, but nowadays are usually left bare for decorative purposes. Modern-day tile ceilings may be flush-mounted or installed as drop ceilings. Materials and processes. Ceramics for tiles include earthenware, stoneware, or porcelain. Stoneware is harder and more durable than earthenware, and so more suitable for floors. But there is a slight difference between porcelain and ceramic tiles. Terracotta is traditionally used for roof tiles, but other manufactured materials, including types of concrete, may now be used. Pebbles similar to mosaics techniques or other pattern tiles. Pebble tiles are tiles made up of small pebbles attached to a backing. The tile is generally designed in an interlocking pattern so that final installations of multiple tiles fit together to have a seamless appearance. A relatively new tile design, pebble tiles were originally developed in Indonesia using pebbles found in various locations in the country. Today, pebble tiles feature all types of stones and pebbles from around the world. Digital printing techniques and digital manipulation of art and photography are used in what is known as custom tile printing. Dye sublimation printers, inkjet printers and ceramic inks and toners permit printing on a variety of tile types, yielding photographic quality reproduction. Using digital image capture via scanning of digital cameras, bitmap, raster images can be prepared in photo editing software programs. Specialized custom tile printing techniques permit transfer under heat and pressure. The use of high-temperature kilns to fuse the picture to the tile substrate. This has become a method of producing custom tile murals for kitchens, showers, and commercial decoration in restaurants, hotels, and corporate lobbies. Diamond etched, a method for custom tile printing involving a diamond-tipped drill controlled by computer. Compared with the laser engravings, diamond etching is in almost every circumstance more permanent. Mathematics of tiling. Certain shapes of tiles, most obviously rectangles, can be replicated to cover a surface with no gaps. These shapes are said to tessellate, and such a tiling is called a tessellation. Geometric patterns of some Islamic polychrome decorative tilings are rather complicated, even up to supposedly quasi-periodic ones, similar to Penrose tilings.